Good morning, everybody. Right now in the news today at 5 o'clock, two deadly crashes to talk about this morning. This one here, the more recent one in Cape Coral, happened just last night before our broadcast. New details on this story as you wake up. Take a look at this. We're also getting new information in a deadly accident. This one happening on US 41 yesterday afternoon. This killed one person and injured another along with two dogs. Rachel.
Thanks, Clay. And we're also keeping track of the latest progress in Indonesia, where recovery crews continue to find victims of AirAsia Flight 8501. The U.S. now pitching in more resources as families of the 162 passengers hang on to every word of each briefing. And a startling report is out this morning highlighting the dangers police officers face every day. The report just released as Philadelphia police are forced into a deadly confrontation with yet another suspect who was wanted for making threats. These stories and much more right now in the news at 5.
Live, the news you count on. NBC2 News Today.
Well, good morning, everybody. Guess what? We are just shy of 19 hours until the new year. Can you believe it? Good morning, everybody. I'm Clay Miller. Look who's back. It's Rachel Pierce.
Yes, 2 days off, 2 days off. Yeah, it's nice to have a couple of days off.
Yeah.
Family in town, so
Absolutely.
It was great. Well, we're going to get this New Year's Eve started with the first alert, your first alert forecast. Chief Meteorologist Haley Webb joins us in the Weather Center with what you can expect today. And Haley, I know a lot of people are going to be out late tonight.
Yeah, tonight's going to be a busy night, and the weather should cooperate. We're starting off this morning with temperatures in the mid-60s. The good news is we're only seeing 5-mile and better visibilities. None of those 0 and 1 mile visibility reports like yesterday. So visibility is fine, and it's still a little bit on the warm side this morning. 64 in Fort Myers and Cape Coral, 66 in Lehigh Acres, 65 as you look toward North Fort Myers. Taking our maps northward, we've got 65 in Punta Gorda, 63 in Port Charlotte, and farther south it's 68 degrees as you look toward the Naples area. We've got a warm morning underway. We are going to stay with warm weather today. This is our first alert live radar plus. There have been a couple of very stray sprinkles this morning. Otherwise, partly cloudy skies. You may get that very stray little shower today. We'll be up to 78 by the noon hour, 78 again at 5 p.m. And I want to take a jump ahead to tonight, because that's when you're making lots of plans. 70 by 10 p.m., 67 at midnight as you bring in the new year with just a few clouds around. We'll look ahead to the next few days at 5:12.
All right, Haley, thank you. Here's your news. All new this morning, we're working for details in a deadly crash that happened in Cape Coral. We have some video to take you to now from the scene. This wreck happened last night around 10:30 on Del Prado Boulevard and Cornwallis Parkway. Fire crews there tell us this car rolled over. One person was ejected from it. They died at the scene. Traffic was diverted for a short time, but everything's opened and fine now. Stay with NBC2 for updates.
And then in Fort Myers, all lanes of US 41 were shut down for hours last night because of a deadly 3-car crash. One person died in the crash, and it sent another person to the hospital. It even hurt 2 dogs. It all happened around 5 o'clock at the intersection of 41 and Hickory Drive in Fort Myers. That's just south of Sanibel Boulevard.
Heard an explosion, looked over, the car was airborne. It was already upside down.
And deputies say a car pulled out in front of a truck. They collided. A third car got swept up in the wreckage. One of the 3 cars flipped, and inside that car was 59-year-old Daniel Cantwell of Fort Myers. He was killed in the wreck. His wife needed to go to the hospital, and their 2 dogs suffered broken legs.
While I was doing CPR, the Doberman was licking my hand, which just broke my heart.
It took 3 hours to clear the scene. Cantwell's wife is listed in fair condition.
Your time is 5:03 right now on your Wednesday morning. Developing at this hour, search crews continue the daunting task of recovering the wreckage and victims of AirAsia Flight 8501. The debris was found just off the coast of Borneo, which is in the plane's original flight path. Early indications suggest the flight met a sudden end as the crew tried to negotiate around violent thunderstorm cells. With the latest, here's NBC's Brian Moore.
As search crews in the Java Sea zeroed in on the wreckage of AirAsia Flight 8501, the bodies of the first victims arrived at a military base in Indonesia.
Disaster Victim Identification Indonesia.
Shipping containers are being turned into makeshift morgues, tents prepared for autopsies of the 162 victims.
Basically, we are now in the process of evacuation and identification.
The discovery of a half-dozen victims and various pieces of debris dashed hopes of finding any survivors, but puts investigators a step closer to finding the so-called black boxes that may shed light on the cause of the disaster. 2 American ships, the USS Sampson and USS Fort Worth, have been dispatched to help in the search and recovery efforts. AirAsia's CEO, meanwhile, is trying to comfort grieving family members.
It's a horrible, horrible experience, but we will try to do our best. That's our focus right now.
The wife of Flight 8501's pilot is among those yearning not just for news, but the return of a loved one.
I must be strong and tough, and I'm here for my children and their future.
A search for answers at the bottom of the sea. Brian Moore, NBC News, Washington.
Well, some tragic developments this morning north of the border, Edmonton, Canada, where 9 people, including 7 adults and 2 young children, were found dead at 3 separate crime scenes. The local chief of police is calling it the city's worst mass murder. Officers were responding to a weapons complaint and found the body of a woman inside the first home. The bodies of 3 more women, 2 men, a boy, and a girl were discovered a few hours later at another home. Police say the killings were the result of domestic violence.
This series of events are not believed to be random acts, and there is no risk to the broader public. And these events do not appear to be gang-related, but rather tragic incidents of domestic violence.
We mentioned 3 separate crime scenes. Police later found the man who they believe is responsible for the murders. He appeared to have taken his own life inside a restaurant. Back to Southwest Florida now. A Michigan family has a lot of paperwork ahead of them by way of insurance claims. You see, their yacht caught fire and sank just off Fort Myers Beach. And there it is, what's left. That's the yacht we're talking about. We brought you this story as breaking news yesterday morning. At this hour, investigators still are not saying what sparked the flames that sank the vessel and damaged the yacht right next to it. Firefighters estimate that the damage to both boats to be around $2 million. The owners were driving back to Michigan when they got the call.
We are learning a lot more this morning about a plan to curb crime and at the same time boost business in Fort Myers. City planners are focusing on the areas along MLK Boulevard. They've been working on the proposal for nearly 10 years now, and neighbors will finally get the chance to tell council how they feel about it. Planners want to attract business owners to build shops and restaurants, and city workers believe that effort will also help scrub the area of crime because of new construction and increased business traffic. It's a plan well received by some residents.
Even though we might object to change is evident. And in order for any economic development to take place here in the Dunbar community, we are going to have to accept some change.
And city planners also hope to attract business along Veronica Shoemaker Boulevard. And 2 public hearings are scheduled in January before a vote, and count on NBC2 to follow the story every step of the way.
A seasoned veteran of the Fort Myers Police Department retired this week. 12-year-old German Shepherd Chase, getting too old to chase down bad guys. Chase was with the department for 7 years and mostly worked patrol alongside his handler, Officer Sean Nenadal. Chase has a great track record, including apprehending 87 people and searching nearly 800 houses for drugs.
We were very successful, obviously more on his part than mine. He's kind of the brains of the operation, and his drive is unbelievable, even at 12.
And Chase will now spend his days relaxing with the Nenadal family. FMPD has a total of 6 police dogs.
What a bummer in Austin, Texas. City organizers have called off New Year's celebrations there in anticipation of bad weather. Freezing weather is in the forecast on New Year's Eve, so tonight, and officials, they didn't want to encourage people to drive. Plans for fireworks, street vendors, live performances, they've all been scrubbed. Last year, nearly 10,000 people attended the event. Well, I suppose they might be watching this. To New York City now, a live look at Times Square on the left, where tens of thousands of people will descend soon to celebrate the new year. Police presence and surveillance is definitely visible. And then on the right, you have an inside look at the command center for the New Year's celebrations in Midtown. Police officers on foot, horseback, and we would assume undercover will be intermixed with crowds as people ring in the new year. Crews in Cape Harbor are getting ready for their own ball drop tonight. Now it's in its 9th year. The celebration draws thousands of people. The party at the marina at the Cape Harbor, it starts at 9 o'clock with fireworks and a ball drop at midnight. The event is free.
And in downtown Fort Myers, countdown starts at 8 p.m. It's free, but VIP tickets are available. There will be a craft beer garden plus live music on multiple stages and, of course, a ball drop and fireworks at midnight. And in Naples, the Naples fireworks display starts at 7:30 at the pier. You can also see the show from many outdoor restaurants along 5th Avenue South. Some say the best vantage points are on the beach just north and south of the pier. And also, of course, make sure you bring those beach chairs.
I've rung in the new year at the Naples Pier. So it's a good show.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And we just hope everybody's safe tonight and has a great time. And hey, Happy New Year's here from everybody here at NBC2. Well, speaking of Naples, the Naples Police Department received some serious threats, and we have the 911 call to prove it. Police say a homeless man is behind it, but it didn't stop at the threats. We'll tell you what else this man did coming up.
And this is a story we really love to report on here. Cheap gas prices, where you can fill up really cheap this morning.
And as you wake up this morning all across Southwest Florida, we're back to another warm start. Temperatures in the mid-60s. I'll let you know where the temperatures are headed for the next few days coming up.